Be grateful for the time you have, and you have to always remember to be kind to one another. We're sisters, so we're always going to fight. That's what sisters do, okay? It's the rite of passage to fuss and fight, but in the end, we're always there.
So what would it look like for you if it were different? If you didn't have that responsibility and if they weren't leaning on you, what would your life look like? What would you be doing?
Well, I would have soared higher.
You think so?
Absolutely. I feel like I'm angry at everybody in my family. I don't like my family. If they weren't my family, it wouldn't be my friends.
And you overspent that amount of money.
Well, I was doing math. 1 + 1 is 2 all day long, all across.
Toni Braxton didn't just climb to the top. She carried the whole Braxton crew on her back. And now, she's finally letting it all out. All those quiet rumors fans whispered for years? Confirmed. Toni was the backbone, the provider, the emotional shield, and it wore her down, inside and out. From a young age, she was forced to grow up fast. She wasn't just a star. She was the one making sure everyone else stayed afloat, even when she was barely holding it together herself. And she's done pretending behind the glitz of Braxton family values.
The burden on you is the one that made it out. But you gotta be willing to let them fly.
I feel like I do. I feel like they don't let me.
Behind the scenes was resentment, entitlement, and a family so used to her doing everything they didn't even notice she was drowning. Trina and Towanda, she put them on blast. Toni says they didn't just cross lines, they stomped all over them. They allegedly took from her, drained her peace, and still acted like she wasn't doing enough. That type of betrayal cuts deep. Fans thought they were watching sisterhood, but Toni was out here trying to breathe while still expected to carry everybody else's weight. This ain't just some family drama. This is deep, buried pain finally rising to the surface.
170 million in sales, and you got $1,972? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Toni herself said, "I feel like they don't let me fly." And now with the Braxtons back on our screens, it's all fake smiles and glitter, but behind the scenes, it's messy. Toni might look flawless, but truth is, she was drowning in silence for years. The world saw the awards and red carpets, but she was waking up every day hating the very life she fought to build. Let's keep it real. Put some serious respect on Toni Braxton's name.
That you were upset about stories that your overspending caused this. Because it would appear, and you can explain to us whatever you want to explain to us, but it would appear that even if you don't believe that you got the percentages you felt that you got, you still knew that there was a certain amount of money coming in.
Exactly.
And, exactly. And you overspent that amount of money.
Well, I was doing math. 1 + 1 is 2 all day long, all across.
Before most of us could even read, she was out here breaking records, collecting Grammys, and shutting down red carpets with effortless grace. She wasn't just performing, she was defining the sound of a generation. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, she was holding down a family that acted like her success was a family coupon. Let's talk numbers. 7 Grammys, over 70 million records sold, and a voice that could hit your soul, whether in the club or a church pew. But after being the face, the rock, the ATM, and the voice of the Braxtons, she's left with way less than she earned. And that's the sting that won't fade. It all traces back to Severn, Maryland. 6 kids, 1 gospel-singing mama, and dreams way too big for that tiny house. Toni was the oldest, and everything changed when their mom got into a bad accident. She was stuck in the hospital for what felt like forever. From that day, Toni didn't just lose her childhood. She skipped it entirely. 1 minute she's singing in the mirror. The next, she's playing mom to everybody. While other kids were outside playing, Toni was inside making sure everyone was fed, safe, and had a roof over their heads. She became the glue, the rock, and the one who had to grow up way too fast. Their dad was out grinding, trying to keep the lights on. But the emotional load? That all fell on Toni's shoulders. 6 kids in the house, and when Toni blew up in the 90s with hits like Unbreak My Heart and Breathe Again, everything shifted. Instead of celebrating her success, her sisters reportedly started treating her like a walking ATM. Toni recently admitted just how drained she's been, not just financially, but spiritually.
If they weren't leaning on you, what would your life look like? What would you be doing?
Well, I would have soared higher.
She wasn't just carrying the Braxton name, she was carrying the Braxton bills. Rent, car notes, even failed business dreams. She was covering it all. She didn't drop exact dollar amounts, but the message was clear. Her pockets were run dry. She didn't name names outright, but it's no secret. Trina, Tracy, rest in peace, and Towanda were high on that list. What really hurt? Some of them allegedly wanted to be paid just to work beside her. Meanwhile, Tamar, the wild one, was helping out without asking for anything back. Now that's real loyalty, but this family drama, it's far from over. What started with Toni's heartbreak is now tearing open the Braxton house of secrets. And best believe, Tamar saw it coming. Toni's been caught in a storm, and it's no drizzle. This was a full-blown emotional, financial, and physical downpour, and it's still coming down heavy. By the time all this chaos was happening, Toni wasn't just famous. She was a straight-up pop icon, fighting to keep her crown in an industry that chews legends up and spits them out. She was holding down her entire family, breaking inside, and when she finally needed someone to show her love, they treated her like she didn't even matter. The level of disrespect? Unimaginable. And before you say, well, she sold over $170 million worth of records, she's rich, right? Slow down, because this next part will leave you speechless.
13 or 14, my mom, she had a really bad accident. She fell. Her back was really messed up, so she was in hospital a long time. And so I was a surrogate parent for a moment.
Where was Dad?
Working, had to make a living at 6.
Toni was only getting 35 cents per album. That's right, just 35 cents. While everyone else at the label was feasting off her voice, her account was starving. Picture being the face of fame and luxury, then going home broke. That's the twisted reality she was living in. When she finally said enough is enough and dragged her label to court in 1998, boom, just 8 weeks later, bankruptcy hit again. But not because she was out here living reckless. Nope. She got locked into a shady contract where every single thing, travel, glam, studio time, videos, came out of her pocket. Sis was basically funding her own success while everyone else cashed in. It was like she signed up for fame and got handed a bill instead, and all she got in return? Crumbs. Not even the good kind. Dry, leftover, bottom-of-the-bag crumbs. But the real jaw-dropper? That infamous Oprah interview. You'd think one queen would lift up another, especially when she's already down. But nope. Oprah sat Toni across from her on national TV and hit her with the coldest, most condescending vibe ever, basically asking, how are you even broke if you're famous? Toni was looking for empathy. Instead, she got humiliated. The backlash from that moment hit Toni like a wrecking ball. Overnight, public opinion flipped. People stopped rooting for her and started questioning everything all over again. But here's where it gets real shady. Word on the street is, Oprah didn't just host that sit-down. She allegedly tipped off Toni's label ahead of time. Yep, insiders say Oprah warned them that Toni might spill the tea about their shady business, and they got a heads up. Like, what? Who does that? Instead of standing with the woman sitting across from her, Oprah allegedly sided with the same execs who were draining Toni dry. That interview didn't just sting, it set her career way back. It was supposed to be a healing moment, and it turned into betrayal on national TV. But Toni, being the fighter she is, got up and kept pushing. Then came 2010, and life hit her again. She was diagnosed with microvascular angina and lupus, two brutal conditions that don't play. Her health was crashing, and just like that, she had to cancel her entire Las Vegas residency. That show was supposed to be a major moneymaker, one of her biggest ever, and just when she thought things couldn't possibly get worse, life kept throwing punches. Boom! Another hit. And this one was brutal. Her insurance didn't cover the cancellation of her Vegas residency. So, guess who had to pay for everything? Toni, out of her own pocket. Venue fees, lighting crew, dancers, band, hotels, flights, all of it, gone in a flash. She had no backup plan, no safety net. With nowhere left to turn, Toni was forced to file for bankruptcy. Again. And just when it seemed like life couldn't pile on more, boom. The IRS and the California Franchise Tax Board pulled up like uninvited guests at a party, demanding their cut. No mercy. In 2010, things went from bad to savage. Both agencies hit Toni with back-to-back tax liens like they were racing to grab her last dollar. According to court docs splashed across gossip blogs, the IRS filed a federal lien on December 4th, saying she owed $340,252.99 from 2007 alone. And it didn't stop there. Just days later, California's Franchise Tax Board joined the attack, hitting her with another lien for $116,154.64. Added up, Toni was staring down a tax bill of $456,407.63. And both agencies weren't playing games. They told her flat out, pay up fast or risk losing your property. Houses, assets, anything they could grab. They were coming for it. But here's the real question. How does a woman still touring, still headlining, still drop-dead iconic, end up in debt over and over again? Insiders say the truth runs deeper than just shady contracts or surprise health issues. Toni wasn't just helping family here and there. She was carrying them, covering bills, footing the tab, and taking on financial burdens that weren't even hers to begin with. Every time she tried to stand up, someone or something was pulling her back down. Toni was the one stepping in during every emergency, emotionally, financially, everything. She was the safety net, while everyone leaned on her. But nobody stopped to ask if she even had the strength to keep holding it all together. And allegedly, all that money tension that's been brewing for years in the Braxton clan finally exploded once the reality show cameras started rolling. Behind the glammed-up family moments was real beef, serious money drama. Some sisters were heated over Toni and Tamar getting paid more, and they weren't quiet about it. It got so intense that production reportedly had to hit pause. Toni? She snapped, stormed off set, and said she was done, for good. And honestly, who could blame her? She's been through fame highs, health scares, financial stress, family pressure, and public humiliation. That's enough to break anybody. This family feud? It's straight-up reality show chaos with a soap opera twist. Grown women, some past 50, still beefing like it's high school lunch drama, throwing shade over paychecks, blocking each other online, and calling each other out in public. The vibe? Toxic. And guess who's been carrying all that emotional weight? Toni. Word is, she's officially tapped out. Let's break down this Braxton family storm. Because before Tracy passed, Toni said they all made a promise. Keep the peace in her memory. But let's be real. That promise got tossed. The drama didn't just linger. It escalated into a full-blown Cold War. And now, word is Toni's emotionally done. She's washed her hands of all of it. The streets are buzzing that not a single sister showed up to support Tamar at the premiere of her new cooking show. Not one. Why? Allegedly, a major blowout went down just 2 days before the event. And from there, it all spiraled. Right after that, Towanda hit social media with a shady post that read, "To everyone who distanced themselves from me, kindly stay there." Whew, that one felt like a slap. But the tea keeps pouring. Towanda just married her longtime man, Sean Hall, after 9 years together. Toni and Trina were there, dressed to the nines, looking like straight-up bridesmaid royalty. But Tamar? Nowhere in sight. So yeah, it's clear. Sides are being picked, and the divide? It's real. Now, rewind to that awkward moment on Braxton Family Values. Someone asked Towanda how she felt about not being close to Tamar anymore, and the air went ice cold. Tamar jumped in, saying she's always the one reaching out, and that Towanda only checks in when the cameras are rolling. Towanda, never one to sugarcoat, didn't flinch. She hit back with, "I don't pour into certain vibes anymore." Translation? She's done giving Tamar that sisterly grace. And just in case anyone missed the message, she doubled down. Her energy is now locked in on her house, her kids, and her man. Her man. Period. Like, point blank. No confusion. At this point, it's giving long game energy. Towanda's always had the rep of being the calm one, the level-headed sister in the middle of all the Braxton chaos. But now, folks are starting to wonder if that cool, collected vibe was part of a slow burn strategy. Because the way things are unfolding, Toni's energy is speaking loud and clear. "I was there for you, but where were you when I needed you?" Word on the street is Towanda leaned heavy on Toni during her divorce, emotionally and financially. And yeah, being there for family is one thing. But when it starts feeling like dependence instead of support, that's when things cross a serious line. And fans? They're picking sides and it's getting messy. Some say Towanda's always had tension with Tamar under the surface. while others think it's jealousy, especially since Tamar's career took off. But this ain't just some petty sister spat. This drama is cracking the whole family. Toni's been the glue for years, touring, working, covering bills, keeping peace. But now, she's pulling back, and you can feel it. People are even speculating that the emotional stress is messing with her health again. Lupus doesn't play, and stress is a known trigger. One fan put it best: "We didn't want the Braxtons back just to watch them argue. We wanted to see love. We wanted to see growth. That's what we missed." Instead, we're watching years of buried tension explode on camera, right in front of the world. One comment really hit: "Sometimes the break you need most is from your own family, but the one that cracked everything wide open?" Toni is owed so much, but it always starts with the parents, especially their mom. And honestly, that might not be far off. But before jumping ahead, let's rewind and talk about the real heartbreak in this Braxton saga, Tracy. Because if we're keeping it real, her pain was the quiet storm behind everything. She passed in 2022, but her story still cuts deep. Remember when she got dropped from their early music deal just for being pregnant? That wasn't just business, that was personal. That kind of rejection leaves scars. And even though Tracy always showed up smiling, the hurt was still there. The tension between Toni and Tracy wasn't just petty sister stuff. It ran deep. Their love was real, but it came with bruises that never truly healed. This wasn't something a quick "I'm sorry" could fix. It was years of silence, unspoken pain, and missed chances. Now that Tracy's gone, that pain just hangs heavy in the air. When Toni says she's drained, it's not just money. It's the guilt, the grief, and the ache of what can never be made right. Braxton Family Values started like a dream. Fans were hooked, the brand was booming, and the sisters were everywhere. But behind the glitz, the show was tearing the family apart, piece by piece. Imagine already dealing with sister drama, and now every fight, every side-eye, every whisper is being caught on camera. That's not healing, that's pressure, and the cracks were hard to miss. Toni didn't sugarcoat it either. She said, "I don't want to be the strong one anymore." That line hit deep. Every big sister, every firstborn, every woman carrying her family felt that. It wasn't a quote, it was a cry for help. Now Tamar looks like she's trying to move forward. But Towanda? Her silence is loud. And with Tracy gone, Toni's clearly realizing life's too short and time waits for no one. This isn't about fame anymore. It's about a woman who gave everything, her love, money, energy, and finally said, "I'm done." But just when it felt like things were settling down, boom, Tamar pulls a major Braxton plot twist. Word is, she just brought Ashley Braxton back into the fold. And this ain't just any niece, this is the same Ashley who dropped that truth bomb years ago that nearly split the family in half. Back when Ashley was just 16, she told her parents something serious. Trina's ex-husband Gabe had been sending her inappropriate text messages. Not playful, not harmless. These were grown man to a teen messages that crossed every line. And Ashley? She did exactly what she was supposed to do. She spoke up. Her parents went straight to Trina, and at first, Trina showed support. She stood by Ashley and said she believed her. But that support? It faded fast. The love turned into distance, then into silence, and eventually into blame. Yep, there are whispers that Trina flipped the whole script and started saying Ashley should have known better. Some even claim Trina believed something happened, but instead of standing by Ashley, she blamed her for it. Just sit with that for a second. A teenage girl said a grown man made her uncomfortable, and instead of getting protection, she got cut off. Trina really iced Ashley out and never looked back. That kind of wound? Ashley's been carrying it for years, quietly, but it still runs deep. And now? This Braxton drama just hit a whole new level. Tamar, who's had beef with pretty much every sister at one point, just brought Ashley back into the mix for the new season of Braxton Family Values. And this ain't no blink and you miss it cameo. Ashley is locked in for a real role this season. And you already know the tension's about to explode. Tamar says she brought Ashley on the show to show love and remind her that somebody in the family still had her back. But if you followed the Braxtons long enough, you know nothing's ever that simple. These sisters are already knee-deep in drama, and filming's been paused more than once because of it. Now with Ashley stepping in, This pot is ready to boil over. Some folks think Tamar brought her on just to stir the pot, throwing gasoline on an already blazing fire. But Tamar's standing firm. She says it's not about mess, it's about giving Ashley a voice, proving not everyone turned their back on her. But let's be real. This isn't just a casting choice. It's about deep wounds that never healed. It's about silence that screamed and blame that never landed where it should have. Ashley's move to speak up isn't just bold, it's explosive. And with all this old pain bubbling up, this season of Braxton Family Values might just be their rawest yet. And possibly their last, because some damage might be too deep to fix. If there's one thing to take from all this, it's that even the strongest ones, the ones holding everybody down, need someone to stop and ask, "Are you good?" Because when the camera's cut and the spotlight fades, all that's left is real life. And for Toni, real life's been heavy for way too long. So let's talk about it. Was Tamar stirring the pot or finally standing up for what's right? Is Ashley's comeback a step toward healing, or just another spark in a family fire that never went out? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation is far from over. And don't forget, tap that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with your crew who's been keeping up with the Braxton saga. You already know we've got more tea coming your way. Catch you in the next one.